Johnny Fuller was born on June 1, 1942, in the vibrant heat of the Caribbean, and from an early age, he seemed destined for greatness. Even as a kid, his boundless energy and fascination with strength and movement made him stand out. While most kids played in the streets, Johnny was the one watching athletes, completely intrigued by the idea of shaping his own body through effort and discipline. That spark would set him on a path few dared to take, the path of bodybuilding, at a time when the sport was still taking its first steps outside the big cities. As he grew older, his passion for sports turned into something deeper. Johnny started studying the principles of physical training, observing how the body reacted to every exercise and diet change. He didn't just train, he wanted to understand every movement, every result. That hunger for knowledge set him apart. He refused shortcuts, believing that true progress only came from the perfect balance between mind and body. Inspired by legends like Arnold Schwarzenegger and other icons from the 70s and 80s, Johnny saw bodybuilding as an art form. Where others saw just muscles, he saw sculpture, patience and persistence carved into flesh. And even without the advanced facilities modern athletes enjoy today, he made do with what he had. Improvised weights, adapted diets, and sheer determination, turning every obstacle into fuel to keep going. The challenges were endless. In a place where gyms and supplements were scarce, Johnny had to rely on something no one could take from him: his willpower. He trained in humble conditions, but with an intensity and focus that impressed even seasoned athletes. That drive kept him going when everything seemed stacked against him, and it was exactly what shaped his champion mindset. Over the years, Johnny Fuller stopped being just a curious young man and became a symbol of discipline. His bodybuilding journey was taking shape, and every drop of sweat was a silent promise that he wouldn't stop until he reached his full potential. When Johnny stepped onto the international stage for the first time, the bodybuilding world knew something different was happening. His presence was magnetic. Every pose balanced raw strength with elegance. He wasn't there just to compete. He was there to show the result of years of study and discipline. His physique mirrored a mind that refused to accept limits. And with that mindset, he built one of the most respected careers in the sport. His big moment came in 1980, when he won the light heavyweight title at the IFBB Amateur World Championships. That victory launched him onto the global stage and marked the beginning of a new chapter. From then on, Johnny competed against the biggest names in history, stepping onto the legendary Mr. Olympia stage, the ultimate event in bodybuilding. Every time he walked out, the crowd couldn't help but admire him, not only for his incredible physique, but for the precision and dedication in every detail of his performance. What stood out most about Johnny was his balance. In an era dominated by mass monsters, he set himself apart with perfect symmetry and muscle density that looked sculpted by hand. His broad shoulders, powerful legs, and razor-sharp definition placed him among the most complete athletes of his time. That mix of proportion and strength made him a competitor respected even by his rivals, a true model of harmony between aesthetics and power. But the secret behind his longevity wasn't just physical, it was mental. Johnny treated every prep like a ritual. Long training sessions, meticulous dieting, and an almost unbreakable focus. He believed the body was simply an instrument of the mind. Without mental control, no physical result would ever last. That philosophy kept him competitive for years, even as new generations of athletes emerged. Throughout the 1980s, Johnny Fuller cemented his place as one of the pillars of classic bodybuilding. His name became synonymous with consistency, dedication, and a genuine passion for the sport. Standing just 5 feet 6 inches tall, about 1.68 m, Johnny proved that size was never the key factor in bodybuilding. At his peak, weighing roughly 220 pounds, around 100 kilograms, of pure, dense muscle, he displayed a compact, powerful, and perfectly symmetrical physique. Every muscle looked sculpted with precision, the product of years of study and total dedication to the art of shaping the body. That balance between height and mass made him one of a kind, a real human tank who dominated the stage with rare presence and poise. Next to the giants of his era, Johnny never backed down. His confidence and charisma were as striking as his physique. When he stepped on stage, the audience could feel something different. He wasn't just posing, he was telling a story through his body. His focused stare and commanding posture revealed a man who had earned every fiber through sweat and sacrifice. That magnetic presence made him unforgettable, even among legendary names, securing his place in the memory of bodybuilding's golden age. His physique was a masterclass in proportion: broad shoulders, a narrow waist, dense and detailed legs, sharply defined arms, and flawless balance. Johnny wasn't chasing size, he was chasing harmony. He understood that bodybuilding was about more than muscle. It was about aesthetics, flow, and expression. That artistic vision of the human form made him more than an athlete. It made him a sculptor of himself. But behind all that strength was a man with a deeper purpose. Johnny knew the body was temporary, but example could last forever. That's why he inspired others to believe in the power of persistence, to never quit in the face of limitations, and to find beauty in the process, not just the result. Johnny Fuller's training routine was a true marathon of strength and endurance, enough to leave even elite athletes gasping for air. He believed the body only evolved when pushed to the edge, so he performed up to 10 sets of 32 reps per exercise, an almost insane volume that explained the density and definition that made him a legend. For Johnny, training wasn't just about lifting weights. It was about testing the mind, embracing the pain, and leaving the gym stronger than when he walked in. Mondays were chest day, one of his most admired muscle groups. Between bench presses, dumbbell presses, and flies, he switched up angles and intensity to hit every fiber completely. Tuesdays were for back, T-bar rows, cable pull-downs, and one-arm rows that built one of the thickest backs of his generation. That variety kept his muscles adapting and prevented dreaded plateaus. Wednesdays were shoulder day, featuring behind-the-neck presses, lateral raises, and upright rows to create that trademark 3D look on stage. Thursdays were all-out war, legs and triceps. Johnny pushed through squats, leg presses, curls, and extensions to exhaustion, then immediately attacked triceps exercises, showing almost superhuman endurance. Fridays were for biceps, trained with the same intensity as larger muscle groups. He performed barbell curls, preacher curls, incline curls, and concentration curls, giving his arms not only size, but flawless shape and detail. On weekends, while most rested, Johnny ran 3 miles, about 4.8 kilometers, and hit calves, believing that conditioning was key to stage success. To top it off, his forearms were trained 3 to 4 times a week with reverse curls and wrist curls. Johnny used to say that powerful arms ended at the wrists, and that's why he chased total balance from start to finish. If Johnny Fuller's workouts were already intense, his diet was downright unbelievable. Many athletes of his time called it crazy, but Johnny swore it was that calculated madness that kept him ahead of everyone else. He believed the body needed constant shocks, both in training and in nutrition, to keep evolving. That's why he split his eating routine into extreme cycles that would challenge even the most disciplined bodybuilders. From Monday to Wednesday, Johnny went all in on protein. No carbs, no excess fat, just massive amounts of powdered milk mixed with water, boosted with supplements like B-complex vitamins, ginseng, and potassium. He used to joke that on those days, he lived on protein and willpower. That strict regimen kept his body in a state of constant definition, stripping away every last ounce of fat. Then, from Thursday through Saturday, he flipped the script. His diet became rich and heavy, including about a pound of liver, 6 eggs, 1 whole chicken, or roughly 2.5 pounds, about 1.1 kilograms, of steak, always with plenty of vegetables. It was his time to refuel, restore energy, and prepare for another brutal week of training. Fuller believed this alternation between restriction and abundance confused the metabolism and sped up results. But the most extreme part came on Sunday, total fasting. No food at all, just water. To him, that was when the body truly rested, not just from workouts, but from digestion itself. Johnny said the body, like the mind, needed silence to regenerate. It was an unusual philosophy, but it perfectly reflected his constant pursuit of balance and total control over himself. Each of his protein shakes packed a whopping 2,380 calories, with 126 grams of protein and 182 grams of carbs. He believed that to sculpt a living masterpiece, nutrition had to be treated as part of the workout. As extreme as it seemed, his diet was a reflection of his mindset, methodical, bold, and completely devoted to achieving physical perfection. Johnny believed that the secret to progress came down to one simple but powerful idea: progressive overload. In his view, the body only grew when pushed beyond its comfort zone. Whether by increasing weight, doing more reps, or cutting rest times, every adjustment was a way to force adaptation. Fuller saw training as a conversation between the mind and the muscle. Each rep was a silent dialogue about endurance, pain, and perseverance. He wasn't just training his body, he was shaping his character. Physical effort was only half the process. Johnny often said champions were made the moment the mind decided to keep going after the body wanted to quit. His workouts were built around compound movements, squats, bench presses, and deadlifts, exercises that engaged major muscle groups and laid the foundation for growth. Then came isolation work, refining each muscle like an artist adding the final touches to a masterpiece. Still, Johnny knew that intensity without control led to destruction. He preached balance between training and recovery, prioritizing good sleep, stretching, and active rest. For him, resting wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a crucial part of the plan. That's when the body absorbed the effort, grew stronger, and rebuilt itself. Johnny compared rest to the breath between battles. Without it, the warrior falls before victory. He viewed nutrition as the essential fuel behind every great physique. He promoted a diet rich in protein to rebuild muscle tissue and complex carbs to sustain the energy needed for his high-intensity training. To him, food was part of the workout. Every meal had a specific role in the growth process. Alongside solid meals, Johnny valued supplements as strategic allies, never replacements. His go-tos included creatine for strength and endurance, and B-complex vitamins for recovery and energy metabolism. He didn't believe in lab-made miracles, but he knew science could amplify results when used wisely. Away from the spotlight and the stage, Johnny lived a simple, quiet life. Despite the fame he earned in the bodybuilding world, he preferred peaceful routines, time with family, and honest conversations with close friends. For him, true success wasn't measured in trophies. It was about finding balance between ambition and humility. Over time, that calm spirit led him toward new purposes. Johnny devoted himself to philanthropy, using his influence to open doors for young athletes who dreamed of following in his footsteps. He organized events, donated equipment, and mentored beginners about the real challenges of the sport. His mission was to show that bodybuilding wasn't just about vanity. It could be a tool for personal and social transformation. For many, Fuller was the mentor who believed in them when no one else did. After hanging up his competition trunks, Johnny never walked away from the sport. Quite the opposite. He became a coach, a speaker, and an author, sharing the wisdom he had gained from decades of experience. His talks were full of inspiring stories and practical advice, always delivered with that straightforward, down-to-earth tone that made him so relatable. In his books, he taught that real strength doesn't come from the weight you lift. It comes from the consistency of showing up every day and trying to be better. Even after his passing, Johnny Fuller's name still echoes among bodybuilding fans worldwide. He's frequently mentioned in articles, documentaries, and interviews about the legendary Golden Era, that time when the sport was pure, raw, and fueled by passion. Many of today's biggest names still cite him as a model of discipline and integrity, proof that his impact transcended generations. Johnny's legacy goes beyond the physical, it's spiritual. He showed that a true athlete is someone who keeps inspiring others long after stepping off stage. Johnny Fuller left behind more than trophies or records. He left a life philosophy. He became the living image of relentless effort, unshakable discipline, and pure love for bodybuilding. His story proves that greatness isn't a gift. It's the result of a will that refuses to quit. Whether you're a beginner taking your first steps in the gym or a veteran searching for motivation, Johnny remains a reminder that every drop of sweat counts, and every workout has the power to shape not just the body, but the mind. Sadly, on January 20th, 2006, Johnny said his final goodbye to the world, but his legacy never faded. Decades later, his name still resonates among fans of classic bodybuilding as a symbol of determination, humility, and excellence. Today, his training methods and mindset are still studied and applied by athletes and coaches around the globe. Fuller remains a reference point for understanding the balance between technique, mental strength, and consistency. He represents the essence of the old school: train hard, respect the process, and keep your love for iron burning every single day. And in a way, every person who walks into a gym and refuses to give up is keeping a part of his legacy alive. Now I want to know, what inspires you most about Johnny Fuller's story? His willpower, his discipline, or his unconditional love for bodybuilding? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice is part of this community. And if this video fired you up, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next episodes about the legends who shaped the sport we love. Remember, every click helps this project grow and brings you more stories about athletes who proved that impossible is just a word. And if you want to keep going with us on this journey, click the video on your screen. It's the perfect follow-up to this one. Another powerful story that'll remind you why bodybuilding is about more than lifting weights. It's about never stopping your evolution.